Hey, what's up? Good mornings. Good mornings. I hope my sound is good. I actually just wanted to do a quick live, and I keep saying I'm going to do a quick live, and it never ends up to be quick. But for real, it's about to be a quick live. So, the topic of this live is going to be basically this dominance and submission conversation. But before I get into that, I'm just going to put a little music on. Hopefully, y'all can hear it. If y'all can, I'm just going to go right into it.
Can't believe that Daniel really got me on my shirt. Daniel. Yeah, welcome back to the Globby Show. I'm your host, Globby, the girls and Nutty Body. And this is a show that all girls matter, even if you matter, you know. And today we have a special couple from out of Spanish Town, Jamaica. Okay, we're gonna hear what's going on in the household at the moment. Lovely young lady. And your name? You're not Chris? No, me. Okay, all right. So what's going on in the household? What's the problem today?
Well, go you know, say my man, and him not take care of me. I'm husband of married him for 5 years, and not do nothing for me. Bridget have stayed here to come buy a kid.
Now, some of you may know, my firstborn generation Jamaican son. I love the new generation of, the rock, the reggae music that they got going on. It's really good. And this is my man's right here, Gobi. Not on YouTube. Hey. Right. Want to go. Is that your brother Nico? Hey. Right here. See, it's really right here. Hey. I hear. It's like I hear. What are you doing? Right. What you want to go? You say you're going to go? And well, come on. Hey. So if you understand Patois, the way he's talking to this girl, it sounds like he's simping, but hey, she fine as hell. I guess it's a different mindset. Whatever. My cat. I spend my money on him. My granny tell me one and ten club, and my off like one win. Tell him to give me 1 million and I raise up to that. You keep me ramping. Stop when you buy me, I meant me just buy him back one. Anytime we try to put a market. I like here. I look at the movie and I like here. Back it up there, right here. The boy girl fucking in the light here. Yeah, go the ecstasy. See, hey man, give you the records, strike force.
What you do, man? Spend my money for woman. Yeah. Spend my money for woman. Hey. That's how I spend the Okay, so I wanted to start my live this Saturday morning. I wanted to start it now because one of my other favorite content creators is going to be coming on at 11. So I just wanted to do this quick live. If y'all haven't already, please hit the like and the subscribe button. I might be coming mainly on this channel just to promote it a little bit more often. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and let me see. I'm just going to go ahead and go. But so as y'all can see from my thumbnail, I'm pretty active on my Twitter rather than YouTube, I guess. The content delivery is different on Twitter, so it's a lot easier for me. But I'm getting used to YouTube. But so a couple days ago, I wrote a tweet. Let me get back to that tweet. I want to read it out to you guys because I know it may have been cut off by the thumbnail format. But I hope you guys are good this morning. Hope y'all are good. I know yesterday was Christmas. I don't celebrate Christmas, so I ate good though. But it is what it is. Anyway, so I wrote a tweet some days ago, and I said everything evil about patriarchy will be revealed in this lifetime and dismantled accordingly. I love men, but I don't like the ego and the violence behind the ideology. Best believe that the cycle and the age of the evil white male patriarchy is over. Black men, please don't be like them. So I think I want to say I tweeted that probably the day of or the day before the Great Conjunction. And I will be uploading another video regarding that on my main channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my main channel and you're subscribed to this one, it is the Ajia Gahzalia channel. So, so I tweeted that a couple of days ago. I usually have these weird sporadic bouts of inspiration. And I guess the conversation of patriarchy, listen, I don't know why this topic is so fucking redundant. It's getting on my last nerve, to be honest. And that is white male patriarchy, or just patriarchy in general, but that's what we really talk about. That's what we're really analyzing is white male patriarchy. We're not analyzing the potential of what Black men can do once we've healed and moved on from that moment, because that's going to be that's a requirement. What was I saying? I'm sorry. I just got sidetracked because it's like one of those. These are one of the topics that really irritate me, and then in the same breath, we're having this conversation about dominance and submission. I don't know if we are even spiritually healed or mentally healed to have this dominance submission conversation. So, and we're not even far removed from slavery. We always think that we are, but in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about time and just like how time is linear. 200 years sounds a lot, but it's really not. I met my great-great-grandparents and they died at 108. Come on. So it's like, it's a possibility that I was probably born when my own great-great-great-grandparents were alive. Come on, man. You know, we know people who were born in the 1900s still. Well, no. Yeah, late 1900s at least. So anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I just wanted to make this short and sweet. But anyway,
I just wanted to share my screen real quick because I tweeted that a couple days ago, and I also made a couple of I did a couple of lives where I did talk about my my understandings of religion. But here is let me see if I want to show you guys. I don't know how this shit works, y'all. So bear with me, okay? So I'm on my Twitter. Sorry, let me listen. My ass is really slow, y'all. So I don't know if y'all can see that. Okay. So this is Twitter. Yeah. So this girl, I think this was yesterday, she tweeted why Black people always arguing about dominance and submission in relationships. And you know, a few people in the comments were basically chiming in, and one was saying because relationships are meant to be temporary, but we force them to be permanent. Arguing about submission and dominance in relationships, forcing relationships to be permanent are two different situations, though, and that's a fact. Okay. Seeing this on the timeline, Black women being enthusiastic about submitting to the right man and Black men saying that their role is to be dominant only proves that being religious does not equate to Christ-like behavior because it's intimate partner violence abuse. So with that being said, because I wanted to talk about this whole concept of being Christ-like, which is what Christianity's entailed. You are a person following in a doctrine of being Christ-like, okay? This is a key factor to what I'm going to be basically getting to. And so because they choose to see the world as a power struggle, I think it dates back to slavery, patriarchy, right? Our history is filled with being dominated and forced submission, right? Religion and patriarchal tradition. So the other tweet, the I think it was a retweet, and the gentleman said, combat action wedges. He said PTSD from Christianity and slavery. So if y'all haven't already subscribed to my Ajia Gahzalia channel, that is basically going to be the channel where I will do most of my pro-Black content. So this topic will be considered pro-Black content, but I'm doing it on this channel because I'm just trying to get more people to come over on this side and subscribe to this channel. Good morning, Reigning Woman. How are you? How are you? Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. But okay, so I know people are still in their mindset of religion, and the reason as to why I came on to YouTube in specifically is because the reach that I have on my Twitter, I mainly talk about Black people unlearning some of these the power dynamic that is being spoken about when we talk about dominance and submission. That leans more towards white male patriarchy. It does not, when you actually dive into the African ways, or even because I know a lot of Black people in America don't like to associate themselves with Africa. So I understand that there is a history here. So, what we have to dive into is the understanding of how our ancestors socialized with each other. And when we look into the dynamics of how we socialize with each other prior to, let's say, the enslavement of Africans in Africa, and the spirituality of all of these different places, because it's not all the same, it's not all uniform, it's all different. Hopefully you guys can hear me. They're all different, right? And this is why I love reading about prehistory. I know there are other content creators who love to talk about recent history because it matters. But for me, I love to look at the root of the problem historically. And I believe a lot of these mindsets that we have right now is rippled in time from an age of, and I keep saying this, the age of Pisces was an age of confusion, we were, and it's the fish, right? And we already know who is signified as a fish, and it's Christ, right? So there is a pros and cons to this era. However, for us as a group of people who are considered Black, you know, African, melanoid people, I like to say melanoid people. I don't like to say necessarily African, because I know some people don't like to be called African. But I think one common thing that we do have is our melanation, right? And then also the history due to that melanation. So when I see situations, when we talk about dominance and submission, we have to look at the relationship that we have with these words, Christianity and slavery, and how it impacted Black people. Whenever I see these words, I cringe. I fucking cringe. Anytime when I see a Black man or a Black woman talk about dominance and submission, it makes me cringe, because in the context in which we talk about it, we don't talk about it in love, in cooperation, in progression of our people. We do not talk about it in that fashion at all. It is solely a master slave kind of relationship, and that is what we talk about. That's what I talk about on my Twitter. When we're suffering from generational curses and traumas that is basically normalizing a lot of these Eurocentric, very primitive ideologies, and then making it our own, but putting it in blackface. So, for example, I do talk a lot against Christianity, because when we sit here, and I understand that there are texts in the Bible that say that Jesus was probably this melanoid individual, but when you actually do the research outside of just the Bible, everything that is being said in the Bible is going to be either allegory, right? Allegoric in nature, or it's going to be mainly just riddles in story form. So I don't like to take those type of, I'm definitely not going to take my soul in this particular conversation so serious in that fashion. So I try to learn from it anyway, before I get on a tangent, because I will go off on a tangent when it comes to religion. But when I see Black people's correlation and understand the history, and I'm not talking about recent history, I'm talking about, let's just say, the history prior to Christianity taking over Africa, okay? Because people don't want to think about that. They're like, oh, well, no, Christianity, no. Listen, Africa as a continent, as it was, as the multiple different tribes and nations within it, without the borderlines, I guess we're still used to thinking that we started somewhere during slavery. And when we actually look at the history and the social interactions between our people, because it's possible, you can find these narratives out there, they're there. And then when you also look at the spirituality of the people back then, you can understand that there was a sense of harmony between the Black man and the Black woman. Now, I'm not saying this was a utopic society, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're making it sound like it's utopia. I'm not saying it is, but the foundation, which is your spirituality, and believe it whatever you want, there's, in every empire, in every nation, the foundation is your spirituality, especially in a place like Africa, and even over here in the Americas, you know. So when you look at the history of how Black people interact with these forces such as Christianity, when you look at the history, it has mainly been through violence. It was never through the means of actually caring about those people's souls, right? And then slavery on top of that, it like further reinforces the master slave context when we're talking about this. And when I look at this, even with this thread, I don't even want to read this, because this is kind of ignorant what he was saying. He said, I laugh at the way Black Americans blame every wrong thing they do on slavery and religion, as if they are the only Black people in the world and every Black person experienced slavery like their ancestors. I'm pretty sure this person's an African, okay? Because you know these motherfuckers love their Range Rovers. With that being said, we can go back to looking at the history of Nigeria and see how both Christianity and slavery also affected them as well. But whatever. Now, I have this book, Dr. Joy DeGroy, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. I can't stomach this book. I try to read it in its entirety, but I'm probably going to have to read it in its entirety if I want to do videos on this, because this book right here, it's nothing but facts. So from the excerpts that I've read, right? And people kind of get it. And this was the one that I liked and retweeted on my channel. I said, when we are going to realize that when our ancestors were free, they never received therapy. We're never given the chance to heal and share all their trauma in every generation thereafter while dealing with the current racist bullshit of the time. Is it any wonder we're a little crazy? We should be. And that's such an accurate assessment. Like, there are so many Black people in our community who, when we talk about mental illness, we shun it, we laugh at it, and I know subconsciously we're like, oh, that's a white people thing, and you just like to use it as an excuse. It is not. We have to start, we're in the age of Aquarius right now. What does that mean for Black people? Okay, it means that in this era, and the eras that's going to happen after we turn into dust, what are we going to do for the legacy of our great-grandchildren in terms of generational wealth and their mental legacy? What are we going to do? Because I have a hashtag out on this page and my other page, hashtag protect Black children. And it means in every form that I talk about. For me, I don't believe that trying to work to save older people, their mindset, some people's mindset is so corroded. It is just, there's no hope for those people. And it's not a matter of, just, put them in, camps type of shit. No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about a mental isolation. There are certain people who are just going to get it. There are people who are not. And we're in a time. Think of how blessed we are to have been born right now to witness what we saw December 21st, the Great Conjunction. It is not a coincidence that whoever is going to be listening to this, whoever is understanding what I'm saying, it's not a coincidence that you're hearing this message or you're understanding certain messages at this particular time in your life, right? And then now as we're moving, I'm blessed that I didn't have children in the age of Pisces, right? Just to think that I will be a part of the generation of women who are going to be bringing forth life in the actual age of Aquarius. And what kind of mindset are we going to be feeding these babies? And one thing that I know for certain is definitely this year. We've been how many hundreds of years removed from slavery, and we have not given ourselves a chance to heal. That's why I've always talked about how integration was a mistake. Not because I hate white people. It's because when we got out of slavery, think of how much time went by to when we got out of slavery to when we end up trying to be in their proximity. We were doing good during Reconstruction. There were times when, of course, they were preying on us, what you expect. But we never gave ourselves a chance to heal. And here we are, how many generations later, far removed. And I had to include myself as well, because there was slavery in Jamaica, and it was pretty bad as well. There's still plantations there. That's still there. Renovated into hotels and shit. We had no time to heal. And so when people such as myself say, Black people, segregate yourself either mentally or physically from people who that they get angry because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to be around these niggas. And it's more than that, man. And this is why I'm like, This is why on my other channel, I mentioned this, where I want to get people, I want to do content showing how diverse my city is, right? And how easily we can make this city the next Black Mecca, the South, the true South. This is the oil and gas city, right? Like, we got to think progressive thoughts. And when I talk about this Christianity and slavery thing, I know people get upset when you talk about it because, like, oh, you're still in the past. We are still suffering from a lot of the residue that we encountered during slavery. We're saying that the Black women who get with the white man, the slave master, that was interracial dating, as if it was a choice. This is how corroded our mindset has become. It has become just toxic. We've become very toxic as a people. And some of it, we've enforced it, right? Some of us are just experiencing the generational traumas. What is it? The curse of the father, the sins of the father? Now, I don't fuck with the Bible like that, but there's some shit in there. If y'all want to really empower yourselves with the Bible, there's some shit in there that you can really empower yourselves. The sins of the father goes down to the son. Anything that you don't address right now that you know is a generational curse is gonna pass down to your kids. Period. And I can say that because I've seen the patterns of my own family, both my mother's side and my father's side. I sat down and I was blessed. Thank the ancestors for blessing me with the opportunity to speak to my great grandparents, the ones who died at 108 and 106. They were married for 70 fucking 5 years, bro. And I was honored to speak to these people who were the actual daughters and sons of slaves in Jamaica. And how the mindset was different. And although I was 9 years old, I was very young. I didn't understand until now. Now that I'm older and I'm able to reflect on my own life, and I start realizing that the traumas that's going on in my father's family, the males are practicing the same, they're doing the same shit. The women on my mom's side, they're doing the same shit. They're suffering from the same shit. And I realized that each of these generations of women and men who are suffering from this, that the ones that predated my own parents until me, I see that even both my parents haven't learned their lesson at all. And when I look at myself, I realize that I'm leaning towards a lifestyle that is similar to both of my parents and not creating my own lane. It's crazy how our faith in these ideologies that keep us constantly thinking about master and slave in our own relationship. And we talk about healing. I have to heal myself before I engage with another man. Because this submission word that y'all use is never in a context of progressing the family unit. It is never about that. It's like subliminal sexual. It comes off as very sexual. And then you have to also understand the history of how Christianity, there's certain perversions that Christianity enables that we don't even want to talk about. And they did the same shit onto Black people during slavery. This thing, man, these traumas that we're going through, we have to be mindful. We have to be very mindful of, hold on, sorry. We have to be very mindful of the things that we intake, these ideologies, because from my understanding, dominance and submission, these concepts are very Eurocentric in nature. And we already know that the Eurocentric you know, the way they think is steeped in like, it's steeped in a lot of homosexuality, a lot of violence. Okay. And there is no place for the feminine energy, as we love to talk about, because we love to talk about femininity and masculinity, not understanding that, you know, in Christianity, I keep saying this, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit is a genderless entity, from my understanding. You don't have Heru, a set, right? I don't know if, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but you don't have these concepts in it at all. All you're seeing is male, male, neutral. So there is no space, there's no room for the feminine energy. So when we talk about this dominance and submission thing, that submission, this submission position, it is going to only require the Black woman to be used in the way that the white man uses his woman. Because again, like, I'm talking about white male patriarchy. When we talk about patriarchy, y'all only talk about white male patriarchy. Y'all not talking about the Black male patriarchy. And I know black male, I know some Black women are like, oh my God, you know, Black men can't handle patriarchy. They can't handle white male patriarchy because they're not white males. Their nature is not white males. Our nature is always going to be Black, despite all of despite all of the history that we've had and the trauma that we've faced. Then how we naturally are will never stop. Sorry, I had to just stretch out my leg. It will never stop. It's always there. It's always there. Yes. Woman, man, and child. The actual true Trinity. But yeah, I talk a lot on my main channel about Christianity, because if you're not using it in any way to empower you, I honestly believe that you're in for perpetual slavery, mental slavery. That if you're not, and actually there's this show that there's this movie that I was referred to called The Cosmic Slop, and I actually want to go over that movie on this channel. That was a really interesting movie, to the point where it kind of gave me chills. It gave me chills. Very, very good movie. It was a low budget movie, you can tell, but the creativity was there for real, and I fucked with that shit. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that real quick, because I've noticed that since now that we're in this new age now, I have to take my responsibility, and if there is any way that I can wake up my people, I have to do that. And I'm not saying, you know, all Black people should not be Christians and stuff like that, because I think that there are levels to being a Christian that I think is beneficial to the progression of Black people. I believe it. However, this degree of cognitive dissonance that we're experiencing as a collective, where what is 80% of Black people are Christian, a lot, those so-called 80% are not using Christianity to their own benefit. And you know what? I can even say the same for what you call them? For brujas and Obia womans and all them. To be honest, we need to start focusing on conjuring up Dopian spirits to have man in their life and dick and all kinds of love shit. No, we need to be starting putting spells of like revenge, empowering spirit. Good morning, Mother Earth. Hey girl, what's up? I just wanted to come on here like really quick, because I know Taz about to go in on them niggas over there. So I just wanted to squeeze this in before he went on. But Yeah, you could probably listen to the playback. It was not long. You know, girl, I'd be going off on a tangent. I've only been on here for like 35 minutes. So, but yeah, like, and I know would have been definitely a topic that you would have loved. So we could probably continue this after Kaz's live and stuff like that. And I think 9/11 might be going on as well. So, but no, for real though, there's empowering text in the Bible, but y'all don't be using it. Y'all really don't believe. I can obviously see that y'all don't use it because I've had like what three videos on my other channel talking about how motherfuckers be going up on them podiums. Your son got shot in the back 7 times, but you talk about Jesus's love. Really? Like I'm really trying to be patient with religious Christian people. Like I'm really trying. I'm really fucking trying. And it's y'all not, if you're Christian and all that kind of stuff, y'all not making it easy for a bitch like me, for real. That's why I be wanting some of these voodoo obia women to be like, no, let's do some curse on some warrior spirit type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to have the energy of the hurricane. You know what I'm saying? Waves and listen, I was thinking about doing a couple of short stories of some wild conspiracy shits that I'd be thinking about, and I know it would trigger Black people. But I think that's what we probably fucking need. We need to trigger Black people. But anyway, yeah, girl. Yes. Like for real. Honestly, this tweet, I was gonna retweet you too, girl, but like I was like, let me go live real quick before Taz spazzes out on these niggas. So, but yeah, it is a loaded one. Submission, dominance, Christianity, PTSD. I might do a part 2 on this for real, because I got some book references. Yeah, I like science here. I like science and history. I don't deal with I mean I have faith, but the faith that I have is faith in myself and understanding that there is a God energy within myself. And if I was to harness it right and really not just really believe, know that I am, it is what it is. So it's like I've seen what just manifesting and just leaving it to the universe to handle it. I've seen the power of that. So it's like it's cool. But yeah, I definitely want you guys to if you haven't read this book, y'all need to read it. I have it, so I'm about to go hit that book soon. For real. Jesus up there like, yeah, these, you know how niggas be. Well, there you have it. That's facts. Yep. And you know what? It's really good. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's basically as to why I picked that name. Yeah, I believe in yeah, Seshat she's a goddess of she's a keeper of knowledge, basically. And she's, I think what she would be considered as the beholder of Ma'at. So Ma'at is truth. So I love the library. When I was a kid, I loved the library. So when I saw the name Seshat, I was like, I don't know why that name resonated with me so well. And then when I actually did the research, I was like, wow, I know that the ancestors were speaking to me on that one. Yeah, they gonna hate you for telling the truth. See, it gives me great joy to see that my people are finally waking up and they see it for what it is. Because, you know, I can honestly say maybe 5 years ago, I didn't have, when I was talking about this type of stuff, I didn't have this type of understanding. A lot of people didn't have that understanding. It's facts. Yeah. But for real though. Yeah, white people coming into the conversation because they know, white people know, they know a lot more than they think, than we think they know. You see what I'm saying? Like, I've been around white people majority of my life, more so than Black people. And I can tell you, there is just certain, you have to talk to them differently to gauge their understanding. When I speak to white people, I don't do this whole Kundalini tricks with them. I don't do that. I speak to them direct in how they as a subconscious white supremacist would think. I don't speak to them as a, oh yes, a massa, yes. Yeah, I don't do that. I speak to their inner white supremacists. That's what I do. So that's why I don't have a lot of white people as friends. Because I psychoanalyze them without them even realizing it. And I'll be nice as fuck. But I'll just say there's just certain conversations that I have with them, especially if we're talking about shit like this. And I don't go outright and say, "Oh, you crackle." I don't do all of that. I don't do that. I've been around them long enough to know exactly what triggers them without me having to be just all, wild and crazy. So, and my understanding is from them is they understand what they have done. They know what their ancestors have done. But of course, and I think you pretty much know this, but because they've reaped so much benefits from it, they're willing to live a life of cognitive dissonance from that. They're willing to accept the unreality that they've created for Black people within reality. They understand that. And so one of the historical ways in which they did what was the psychological version, which is Christianity, and the physical one, which is slavery. And then the concept of dominance and submission is both concepts under Christianity and slavery. They know what they have weaponized. They weaponize every fucking thing that Black people are associated with, including your gods. They knew that it doesn't make any sense to put two men together and you get children. That's why in the Greek, what do you call them? The Greek culture, the woman, she's basically a surrogate. The main focal point of the intimacy in terms of physical and spiritual has always been between two males. It has always been that. So when we're seeing the effeminization of the Black men today, we kind of shouldn't be surprised considering that we're following in ideologies that's very Eurocentric in nature already. Period. Like, think about it. Like, both concepts of dominance, master slave, is in both Christianity and slavery. And they did both on you niggas. And you think that somehow because you're 250 years out of slavery, you got your own job and you're so-called quote unquote free, that you are practicing in your natural nature, and you're not. So what I was saying was that, look, I retweeted and I can't really find it, so hold on. I retweeted it and my response was, before I close, let me see. Let me find that real quick. So I said in response to why Black people always arguing about dominance and submission in relationships, I said white male patriarchy is about dominance and submission, whereas Black male patriarchy is about cooperation and balance. Slavery and Christianity doesn't uphold those standards of socialization, and we feel helpless rather than hopeful. So, I mentioned that because when we really look at Black male patriarchy, it's not really about the Black woman doing what you want to do. It's about respecting that the woman that you're with she is mentally sound and mentally mature enough to handle her own while still working with your energy as your masculine energy as her partner. And you already have a mind of your own, but because y'all both have the same goals and the same passion, the cooperation is there. There's no need for you to have a master role. There's no need for you to direct, and you have to force someone to do something, or the woman needs to go to a submissive. And this is, and understand, like, I'm using the concept of dominance and submission, and you can hear that I am distinguishing what is considered dominant and submission in the Eurocentric format, and what dominance and submission, which I don't even think those words should be even used. It should be cooperation and cohesion, basically. Because how I think about it is this, before I close. How I think about it is this: the yin and yang. You see, each of them have their majority of their principle, but they do have little remnants of the opposite within themselves, and that creates a balance. So to a certain degree, we have to understand what is the balance for Black women once we have healed from the traumas of white supremacy, because at the end of the day, that is what we are suffering from. That is what we're suffering from. So when we actually do the shadow work, when we remove ourselves from toxic ideologies that keeps us from loving each other as what we are supposed to be, then there's no hope for us. You see what I'm saying? Like, I had to unlearn Christianity, because a lot of what I was reading in Christianity, from my studies in Christianity, it told me as a Black woman that I wasn't shit, and I didn't feel that within. So how can I adhere to a religion or subscribe to a religion or ideologies that made me as a Black woman, although we're supposedly equal in the eyes of God, why did it make my position as a woman extremely slave-like? And then on top of that, the history on slavery and how Black women suffer from that. So when I start doing the spiritual shadow work, those are one of the questions that I came up with. And it led me to books such as Dr. Joy DeGruy. I have other books. Let me see. I'm trying to look on my bookshelf. It's like right in front of me. I read Medical Apartheid. When you read these type of books, and it shows you, it shows how white supremacy weaponized every and anything against a Black man, and they weaponize everything and anything against Black women. Both receive their due treatment. That's why when we talk about these things, white supremacy knows exactly what kind of weaponry is good against the female body and what is good against the male body. And so they acted accordingly. So when we start talking about dominance and submission amongst each other as Black people, what we sound like fucking white slaves in blackface, white masters in blackface. That's what we sound like. So I think we need to be very careful when we talk about these words such as dominance and submission. Like, honestly. So I honestly, like, I cringe whenever I hear these words, because I no longer think in the principles of Christianity. I don't believe in a lot of the subjugating rhetoric that's in that book. That fuels a lot of the hatred and vitriol that's in men. That's a reality. To be honest, like, I know motherfuckers are going to be listening to this and think, oh, she wants an anacracy. I don't believe in that either. I do believe that there is a power dynamic within the Black woman that is very powerful. But I also believe that that same energy is also in the Black man, and it's very powerful. I believe that Christianity has been basically smoldering that fire, that true flame that burns within us. I believe that Christianity was indeed weaponized against us. They used the wholesome principle of the man, woman, and child, and they defiled it, and they packaged it up, and they gave it to us and said that this is what it is, and if you don't believe it, then hellfire is where you're going to go. And they've basically been subconsciously and outwardly telling us that the only time that you can get peace is in death. And that is that is pushed heavily through our religion, our religious principles, subconsciously. We've taken it in, we've absorbed that shit, and somehow we've normalized it because the trauma made sense, the suffering made sense. And so we think that in order for us to be great, we have to suffer first. And I don't believe that. That is what our religion dictates. A lot of Christian people don't want to realize that, but in time, that is going to be a reality. Some people like myself, we are coming out, especially Black people, we are coming out and we are saying that these ideologies are false. And the moment that, and a lot of people think that, oh, well, since you're not a Christian anymore, well, you must feel superhuman. Why don't you do something? Again, that is also a residual effect. This individualism is another very defiled ideology that white Eurocentric ideologies has basically tainted our way of thinking and how we interact with each other. That's my issue. Because individualism is not going to be our liberation. It's not. So the moment that we get out of that mindset where we are in this together and there needs to be a actual selected few that is willing to do the work, yeah, it's going to be hard work, but it needs to be done. And with time, the message will spread. The movement will obviously move. And so, like, I hope that in time, like, my content will reflect my growth out of Christianity, and it was not out of hatred, but it was out of the want to free my actual mind. And I realized that liberation does begin in the mind, and there's just certain ideologies that you're just gonna have to let go. If there's the legacy that I'm trying to uphold, it had to require me to dismantle religion. That's the reality. I know some people are willing to cling to it, but also be mindful that in due time, it will change. It will change. And we have to be willing to accept that change and accept the progression. Just like my parents have to accept that I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist anymore. So anyway, I might come on later. I might come on back later just to do a late night conversation about that dominance and submission. And I wanted to bring like some more book references and stuff like that, because I know people think that when we talk about dominance and submission that, oh, it's just off the top of the dome. No, I'm talking about it in the scholastic way. So, but I hope you guys have a great Saturday. It's about to be a very long holiday season because these motherfuckers is crazy. But see you later, all right? Cools.